Hello friends, in this video we are going to brief about data types in C programming. Data types. Now what does data types mean? See, data types refer to as an extensive system used for declaring variables or a function of a different types before it is used. That means whatever variable or whatever function or whatever any identifier you are writing, for that you have to specify that in that identifier what type of data you are storing, and that type of data will get defined by the data types. The type of variable determines how much space is occupies in the storage and how the bit pattern store in the interpreter. That means if consider any of the identifier you have created and you have assigned the value to that identifier, so the compiler has to understand that what amount of memory, or we can say what amount of or bit amount of memory occupied in the storage area. Through that the compiler will allow to store the value, so that you have to specify the data type. Next, the value of a variable can be changed anytime. That is a feature of variable. You can change any type of value of any of the variable, but you cannot change the data type of that variable. Next, there are four types of data types. Now, which are they? We'll see in brief. So, this is the best diagram to understand the data types. Basically, there are three data types. First is built-in. The built-in data types are already predefined by the C compiler. Second is derived data type. That type of data types are derived from the built-in data types. That means whatever the derived data types are present in C, that are depend on the built-in data types. Next is enumeration. This type of data type is used to perform some specific structure. And the last is void. This data type is not specifically data type. The data type is specified that there is no return value for the particular function. Now, in the built-in data type, we have four specific data types. Which are they? The first is integer. The second is float. The third is double. And the fourth is char. Don't worry about it. We'll brief in the details. Just remember the names. In built-in, we have four data types. First is int, second is float, third is double, and fourth is char. In derived data type, we have another four different sub data types. First is pointer, second is array, third is structure, and fourth is union. Next is enumeration. In this data type, we have only one sub data type, that is enum. And in fourth data type, that is in void, there is no subtype is present because that itself is a data type. Okay? Now we'll see this all in brief. Next, say this table. In this table, you will get all the idea, like basic data types, what is the uses of it, what is the specific different qualifiers are for the each and every data type, the size in bytes and the range for the particular data type. The first data type we have considered is char. Char is a data type which is used to store a single character. That can be A, that can be any digit like 6 or any semicolon. That means with the help of keyword char or the data type char, you can store any single character that may be a in uppercase, a in small case, or any type of special character. Now there are different qualifiers for each and every data type. So for char, we have two qualifiers. First is signed char and second is unsigned char. What do you mean by signed char and unsigned char? Signed char means the value which you are providing that having a particular sign, that is negative or positive sign. Fine. Next is unsigned char. That means whatever value you are providing that don't have any type of sign. Fine. Next, the size for the signed char is 1 byte and the size for the unsigned char is 1 byte, which is very important. You should know what is the size of char. So the size of char is always 1 byte. If you go for any programming language, you should remember the size for the char data type is always a 1 byte. And you as well know 1 byte is 8 bits. Next, the range for the character is minus 128 to 127 for the signed char. Range means the maximum character value which you can provide. And for unsigned char, it can be 0 to 255. Next data type is int. This data type is used for integral values. That means that values which don't have the decimal places. Like I can say 0 or I can say 300 or I can say consider 255 and etc. Now for the int we are having different qualifiers. Which are they? Signed int, unsigned int, shortened or signed shortened, unsigned shortened, then long int or signed long int, unsigned long int. So these are qualifiers which are present for the int. Now we'll see the size for the int. So for the size int we have 2 byte. Okay? For unsigned int that is also 2 bytes. For signed shortened it is only 1 byte. And for unsigned shortened it is also 1 byte. But when you go for the long int, the size get increased. That means 4 byte. And for unsigned long int also the size becomes 4 byte. So whenever you want to store the large amount of range like 1,000 or the lakhs or the billion values, so that time you can give your qualifier data type as a long int. Am I clear? Next. Third data type that is built-in data type is float. Now, if you want to store the data in a decimal format or we can say a floating point format, so that time can use the float data type, which having a decimal places. The qualifier for the float is normal float. There is no qualifier present for the float. But the size which are present for the float is 4 byte. Now, if you want to store the small amount of floating or decimal point data, like I can say the pi value. If I want to store pi value, that is 3.14. So I can store this value with the help of float data type. Next data type is double. For the double data type, it is the same like a float. That means it is used to store the decimal value only. But if the value which are storing, which having the twice of the precision of a decimal value, then you can use double data type. The qualifier for the double data type is double and the long double. For the double qualifier, we are having the size in 8 bytes. So huge amount of data you can store in the double data type. As well as if you want to store something decimal, consider if you want to store the salary of particular person like 3.2 billion. Okay, so that amount you can store in a long double value, which having 10 bytes of data. So this different built-in data types you can use to give a different meaning to your different identifiers. In this video, we have seen the data types in C as well as the size of those data types and the uses of those data types. Thank you.